But in general, back to the Naughty Dog talk, I think I joined them when they were like starting to ramp up for the full production. Like one of the great thing about that studio was like the moment you entered, you're presented with like, hey, this is the game that we are making. Like there's because people come in to the office, so there's not much concept work on display, but at the same time, there is like presentations. There's a lot of documentation that you can go through and like, familiarize yourself with what is like the game that you're working on, what section of the game and the way it works is for us, the environment artists is they essentially give you a full level, do whatever you want to do. And it's like between you, a modeler and a texture guy. And it was just ramping up at the time. So at the time, like when I started, nothing crazy. And in general, I personally like didn't get too crazy like crunch even like after 6 months, because I would take like, lunch breaks, go like, have a like, play basketball. But there is a certain point in the studio that, you start seeing these emails like, like, hey, if you want to work 60 hours, it's fine. We are approving it. And like, we are providing, food and all of that, although that thing is its own. Like, I remember when we were at Pocket Gems, there was like free lunch, everything. And they were so chill about it. Like when you're going to some of these game studios, they think they're giving you like so much benefits with providing you food and stuff. Dude, these are tax deductibles. So there is not necessarily any force, but you're looking at your peers and you're looking, hey, this looks really good. I want to keep up. You're an artist. You want to create the best work you're doing, and you have the tools to create the best work you're doing. Like there are certain times, like, when we were on Call of Duty, the tools, there were certain things that did not fit. Like, if you're working like on a sci-fi thing, the tools are not suited for that. But in Naughty Dog, the tools are there. Everything is there. So you are trying to push the best that you can do, and you see your peers, you're walking past by a VFX person, he's doing a fantastic job creating just waves, like everything you see is so high quality. You want to prove yourself that you are capable of doing that high quality. But there is not necessarily any force that says, hey, you have to stay this long. But overall, I overtimed, but it wasn't in a way that, because again, I took the lunch breaks. Hey, maybe this worked in a way that they canceled my contract after 6 months because I wasn't staying till 11 at night. Who knows? But I personally, but I was seeing a lot of people who are there like for very long hours, and like the person next to me, the kid, like he was coming off of it, like, this was his first main gig, and he was like staying till late, coming to work like super drawn out and tired again. And again, some of the scenes that were given to him, because the quality they want from him is so high, he's just like, there are parts that he was like, how do I do this? How can I get over this hump? And it was a lot of that.
It's definitely crunch culture's young man's game for sure. I think. Yeah. I think even if you take your younger self, right? Let's say you're probably a few years in the industry and you are starting at Naughty Dog. You have everything to want to prove yourself. And I think, and that's the dangerous part of this whole crunching idea, is that people have this misconception that there's a manager or producer, like a Tolga, that comes at your desk and then points fingers and forces you to stay or else, right? But the reality is like they can't legally do that, right? Because it will cause an uproar. But it's more like subtle peer pressure. You see everyone in your cubicle pushing really hard, and even if you clock out at 7 p.m., a normal, like that's even later than normal, right? 6 to 7 p.m. There's a sense of guilt. Or you don't want to be the first one out, right? And and there's it's mostly driven by peer pressure. So we have like a good experience at least that we can draw from, right? So I don't know about you, but we work at Pocket Gems together, right? That was my first mobile outside the traditional game industry company, right?
Yeah.
And I was very shocked at how open and because it's not quite like Facebook where they have like chefs in the kitchen, but we had catered dinner and lunch every single day. And like every month there was like a team outing of some sort. And then every 2 months there's like a bigger team outing. And so there's always seems to be every week an activity outside of just sitting at your desk to keep you busy. And for the first time there was like a huge sense of security where it didn't feel like every deadline was our last. And then after that, I kind of want to hear your thoughts about having that type of experience and then going back to traditional a highly praised studios such as Naughty, the best of the best of AAA. By this point, they have 8 like top selling games every time they ship, right? Can you kind of compare those experiences and dive a little deeper about the differences where you felt like, oh wow, we're really still behind on the accommodations here for game developers?
So yeah, like with Pocket Gems, I think again the work that I was working on might not have been the most fulfilling thing artistically because the project I came to Pocket Gems for never got off the ground. But in general, yeah, like other even than the like, catered food and all like, the fantastic kitchen and all of that, it was just like the chill vibe. And also it was at the time that you remember, like I tore my knee, like, my knee got shattered at the time. And like I was on crutches and I was going to physical therapy, and the physical therapy was in our building. So sometimes in the middle of the day, I would go out for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, everyone, and then I would stay later, of course. But in general, everyone was so relaxed about it. Like, like even though it was at 3:00 that I would go. And then the art director that I worked on, like again, there was a lot of, you were very in good touch with everyone who you were working with. And that's what really disappointed me when I got to Naughty Dog. Like Naughty Dog, again, I just wanted to get back to AAA games because I was away for so long. So I was willing to accept a lot of this. So I went with certain expectations that, hey, just work hard in this like 6 months that you are there. I just want to get back to AAA. But like it was shocking for me. Even if you remember, we were like at Sledgehammer, and you could go talk to Glenn anytime. He was so chill. You can, bring ideas to him, but Naughty Dog, even though it's a first party, like, it's their own title, it's a lead studio. But when you go there, like there's so much divide that, to be frank, in the time that I was there, I only met the creative director of the game once, just like in an elevator, and I introduced myself to him. I was just, hi Neil, like, I started working here. And like, they don't, like the upper management of the studio, I don't think they just look at you as a number per se, like just to finish this game. But you are not someone who's like essentially, oh, we are ingraining you as the core of the studio. Like other people would have communication with you. It was very, I personally did not like the culture at all, but like it was also shocking coming from such a family vibe of like, Pocket Gems. And again, even like Sledgehammer, we were very united, like, during Advanced Warfare, even though we were like 150, 200, we knew everyone, we collaborated with everyone, the ideas were flowing. But I think, it was very difficult for me to adjust to some of that at Naughty Dog.
Commenting a bit more on the culture shock, Do they try to at least have some activities during your 6 months there? I mean, I totally agree that you got to be there at least 2 years before one of the leads actually look at you when they're giving you tasks. Yeah. Because they're it really is every year they have a whole truckload of contractors come in to help finish development. And a lot of those don't make the cut. And we can talk about that a bit more in a bit. But what kind of stuff do you feel like? I mean, they are a pretty big studio. The problems are pretty widely known. I mean, were there conversations about this while you were there with your colleagues about, hey, man, it seems like we just come in here and work and leave really late? I mean, is there any other picture that you feel like while you were there that you felt like, hey, they're making some kind of effort, a little picnic here and there? I used to laugh at that, but like, what kind of efforts have they been making just to paint them in a fair picture?
I honestly think they did a little effort, because actually the location of the studio of Naughty Dog is in this like nice building that has a lot of like water park, like there's a park area essentially around it. It's a nice area. So if you want to go for a walk lunchtimes, it's pretty nice. And they do a little events here and there. I'm not like saying they don't. And actually like every Friday, like, they have a bagel day or something like that. They typically do these sort of events, but like when I'm saying like there's no unity, like let's say somebody is cooking something it's just for their own group. There's no like, oh, hey, the rest of the team, we have like, I made this like great, like, cookie basket and come and share in the kitchen with us. Like, it wasn't, there is a divide. There is no like company-wide email like that. It's just like, if you go to kitchen and you see something, you pick it up, but there is no like, hey, who should I thank for this? Like, there's none of that. But I think that part is fine. And yeah, sometimes for me, it was just a divide between the contracts and again, even like some of the Sony stuff, because Naughty Dog is a Sony team. So there's certain like Sony benefits that go with one side that, hey, all the full times you have these, Sony activities that you can do, but the contracts cannot, enjoy any of that.